If you've been following our restoration, then you know that several months ago, we removed the troublesome hinge pins from our Model A and took off the doors on our project car. With the chassis nearly finished and our attention now shifting to the body of the car, we decided that the doors would be a good place to start. Sandblasting the lower quarter of each door gave us a better look at just how bad things were and what poor shape the bottom of the doors were in. The inner door bottoms were rotted away with cracks, holes, and evidence of Bondo from a prior repair. And upon review of the lower outer panels, they weren't much better either. Earlier this spring, we put in an order with Mike's Affordable. And finally, after months of being on back order, our patch panels have arrived. Today, we're going to show you how we removed the Swiss cheese that was left on our old ones and how we got our doors ready for a new set of skins. Getting started today, we set up outside in the fresh air and put our first door up on sawhorses so that it was stable and easier to work on. We began with the inner vertical door brace. We don't want to completely remove it. We just want to detach it from the bottom of the door. The brace is held in place by 4 rivets, so we'll leave the upper 2 alone and drill out the lower 2. Using a grinder, we began flattening the heads of the 2 lower rivets. Then, using a center punch, we made a path in each rivet for our drill bit to follow. Using a 7/32 drill bit, we drilled out both rivets and freed the brace from the bottom of the door.
Here we go. That's good enough. We just want it to be loose. We don't want to bend it.
Next, we began loosening up the existing panel using a screwdriver and a chisel. This panel is destined for the scrapyard, so we weren't real concerned about beating it up a little. Working the panel on the hinge side of the door, we slowly began separating it from the frame.
This part will stay on there because we're going to replace from this line over. I want to keep this edge on this corner. Yeah, actually, this is pretty nice, really. The thing is a lot of this is going to be gone, including this edge down here underneath this. So we could grind this surface off just to free that panel. We're going to end up replacing, but see, the cut will go along here and right on down through that. So you can see we're here with our new piece, and we're going to cut that out. We're just going to lift that up, it's underneath, and we're going to cut this to this dimension. So we replace this whole piece under. It pretty much follows right along where those factory welds are. And this already has the curve, the crown, this way. That'll help get that panel to form that
With the first side of the panel separated from the door frame, we moved on to the other side. Using the same process as before, George began loosening up the other edge of the door panel.
Spot weld there.
Rounding the corner and moving up the side of the door, we encountered a stubborn spot weld.
All right, no spot weld there, so.
With the help of a 3/8 inch spot weld cutter, George began to work away at
You
it.
can see our spot weld is right there. So I'm going to put a punch right there. I'll use this. And that's on a spring. And it'll just grind the first layer of stuff off. Kind of see how it's cutting that away.
With the weld broken, George drove a chisel up and along the seam of the panel, loosening it from the door. Then, using a screwdriver, he began lifting up the edge of the panel. Once both sides of the bottom inside door panel were loose, we began opening up the last corner seam along the bottom. With the two edges open and loose, we began to grind away at the bottom edge of the door panel. Moving slowly along the bottom edge of the panel, the steel began to grind away, and the door seams began to become more visible, showing the layers of metal underneath. With the bottom of the panel gone and the layers of metal exposed, we used a pair of channel locks to pull the bottom of the panel free of the door frame. With the bottom free, it was now time to cut into the top of the panel.
This is going to go up approximately. I'm going to make a line on there just to give us an approximate. Alright. So what we want to do is we're going to cut about half of that away from right now. That'll give us, I think, enough room. Well, yeah, I want to be more like here.
In order to cut the existing lower panel off at about 3/4 of the height of our replacement panel, George used an air cutoff tool. We want as nice a fit as possible, so we'll wait to cut it off at the complete length until after the new inner door bottom is welded in place and we can make one final check and measurement. Cutting the inner part of the panel is pretty straightforward, as there was little to nothing to obstruct our path. You do need to be careful though when cutting the sides, as you only want to cut as deep as the panel itself, so as not to damage the frame of the door underneath.
See if we can't get this to come loose. We don't care about this piece. I don't want to bend that. I don't want to reef on that. Watch your fingers. These corners. Right over here, that's bondo and stuff. All this piece, yeah, come on, see it. Bondo. Just a bunch of bondo. Put screening in there to help keep it, give it some strength to hold it till it dries hard. But obviously, they didn't have a good edge here, unlike our other edge. So now we can grab our other edge. See, this will have to put right on the under the just too much. But see, this got a nice edge here. This old one, it just lost in all the bondo. There's some lead there, which is why we're outside.
Finally, it was time to cut off the inner bottom of the door. We don't want to cut right up through the weld today, as we aren't set up and ready to do our welds just yet. So instead, we're going to make our cut a bit inside of the welds, so that when we are ready to weld our new panel in place, we can, more in the moment, measure and cut exactly what we need to get the best fit possible for our new piece. Rule of thumb says that it's always better to leave a little extra metal, cut and recut if needed, rather than cut off too much at once and regret it. So for now, our fit is close enough. With one door ready, we started work on the other, and before long, both were done and ready for sandblasting. George carefully sandblasted the doors, particularly around the points where we intend to weld our new panels, getting them ready for the next phase of our project. With the rot cut away and our doors blasted and ready, welding our new panels in place is next up on our to-do list. So join us next time as we resume our work on these two doors and continue our journey breathing new life into this 1930 Ford Model A on the next episode of Epic Restorations.